Hey guys, my name is Matt Downs. I'm a professional sports bettor, and in this video, we're going to go over a specific strategy revolved around esports to help you make money sports betting. Now, to prove to you guys this is a no BS video, I'm going to show you guys my results from last month. This was from October. Made over $11,500 just sports betting about halfway through the month. I also am up $8,000 to start this month in November. And what you see is a screenshot of a verified Pickett tracker. What it does is it tracks all the bets. All you have to do is upload every single one of your sports books to this online tracker, and it shows you your results. You can drill down to things like P&L, go month to month. You can go year to year in terms of your sports betting profit. But something I highly recommend is if you are on the journey to become a profitable sports bettor, you download something like Pickett, a verified bet tracker. Now, as you guys can see, this is my start to November. And I just want to further emphasize, if you guys are brand new to this channel, I teach how to become a profitable sports bettor step by step. I'm not like these other Prizepicks YouTubers, these other daily underdog streamers where, I just go tout picks and I claim I'm the best sports bettor of all time, when in reality, that's really not the situation. Less than 1% of sports bettors are actually profitable, and they are very profitable in a very specific way. Something that we utilize is a strategy called plus EV betting. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to plus EV bet through esports discrepancies, otherwise known as middling. And again, I want to be completely transparent and state to you guys that this strategy doesn't work every single day. Now, based on my Pickett chart, I went on a crazy run, no doubt about it. But because I was able to bet over 600 different times, right? 600 individual bets through the form of straight bets, parlays, utilizing this esports discrepancy strategy, I had a majority of winning days. But as you can see yesterday, I actually took a $704 loss. So there's going to be a lot of highs, there's going to be a lot of lows, but the whole point is that your higher highs are going to be a lot lower or a lot higher than your lower lows, right? So you're going to make a lot more money when you are on those upswings than you are going to lose money on those downswings. Now, before I go over the esports strategy that has kept me profitable over these past few years through Prizepicks, Underdog, and all these other DFS apps, I first want to go over proof of concept, and I want to go over the logic behind why this esports strategy actually works. And in order to understand the rationale behind why esports works, we need to focus on the sports betting market as a whole. And what I mean by that is I want you guys to understand how these lines are set, right? How sports betting market player props specifically, how specifically their lines are set, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take a look here at an example of a real sport. I say real sport, meaning one of the four major popular leagues here with NBA, and another super popular player with Luka Doncic. Now, this is a game from tonight. The Lakers are playing the Charlotte Hornets, and Luka is projected to score 34.5 points. Now, DraftKings has spent millions and millions of dollars to identify that is the most accurate line for Luka Doncic, meaning that he has a 50% chance to go over 34.5 and also a 50% chance to go under 34.5. Now, if you guys are new to the sports betting world, you'll quickly realize that Luka not only has a 34.5 projection on DraftKings, but also at every other major sports book, whether it be FanDuel, Prizepicks, Fanatics. You can go down the list of every single sports book and quickly realize that this projection is very minimal, right? Away from that 34.5 projection. And more than likely, unless any major slate-breaking news comes out, this projection is not going to change. And if it does, every other sports book is going to quickly follow up with a changed projection. And what I'm describing to you, because it's a major market, a major sports market, is a very efficient market, right? Just like any other consumer market that changes. Take the gas that you put into your car, right? The second it changes from one gas station to the next, you'll see that the prices change almost instantly, right? That's because it's a very efficient market. World news affects that consumer market the same way that injury news and other sports betting news affects the NBA market, right? Any type of major news is going to affect this market, and the market's very efficient, has a lot of money flowing in and out of these player props, these game lines, just a lot of eyeballs, because NBA is a very popular league. Now, why are the markets so efficient on these major sports books? Because the sports books, the way that they generate revenue is to simply beat their users, their players at their sports book, right? The more money that they take from you, the more that they make, right? So again, I can almost guarantee you that at every other major sports book, Luka Doncic's line is set to 34.5. Now, the juice is going to be slightly different on both sides, but you guys get my point. The projection still holds. So if we go over to FanDuel, you guys will see here 35.5 with heavy juice on the bottom, meaning that, because this is his quote unquote 50-50 line, they are punishing him on the 35.5 at minus 128. Therefore, the projection should be set closer to 34.5. Again, 1 point discrepancy, right? With heavy juice on the bottom, meaning if I were to hit the over of 34.5 and the under of 35.5, I technically would have a middling opportunity. However, the juice would punish me so much so that if it didn't land in the middle, I wouldn't be profitable for that bet. Again, very efficient market. It's almost impossible to see markets, especially from major sports books, be off more than a couple, points for a major NBA player ever. And when they are off, they change the juice from one way to the other to adjust at what that median projection is going to be. And then if I switch over here to Prizepicks, I would be shocked to see anything but 34.5 or 35 or even 35.5. And as you guys can see here, this one also agrees with 34.5. Now, again, I bring up market efficiency because as you guys can see here, 3 different sports books agreed with that median projection being about 34.5 to 35. And the one sports book that had it at 35.5 had major juice on the under at minus 128, meaning for every $100 that you bet, you're getting nearly, an $80 return, which means that they're going to punish you for hitting the under, even though it's slightly higher at 35.5. Now, I know you guys came here for the esports strategy, and you're wondering why I'm talking about NBA, and I'm simply just trying to visually show you guys how efficient other markets are, specifically with the 4 major sports being NBA, NHL, NFL, and MLB, right? Now, imagine this. Imagine a world where Luka's point projection on, let's say, DraftKings was set to 29.5, while maybe his FanDuel projection was set to 34.5, the exact same projection that we saw. Imagine a 5-point discrepancy compared to a 0 discrepancy that we talked about. Now, the strategy that we're going to be talking about when referring to esports is exactly that, right? Imagine a projection of an esports kill count being off, 5 to 8 kills. Whereas with an NBA very efficient market, that almost never happens. And if it does happen, again, these sportsbooks change their projections or else they're going to lose to their sports bettors within seconds. Now, in the scenario where Luka Doncic's point projection was off, 5 different points, of course, I would be taking the under on the sportsbook where it's higher and the over on the sportsbook where it was lower and hope for that middle projection because then you're hitting both bets. And as I just described, that is the middling strategy. What if there was a very inefficient market that offered those kinds of opportunities, right? And the esports market is known for this, for these many lucrative middling opportunities. Why is this? Because it's a very inefficient market, meaning there's a ton of props, there's a ton of projections across many different DFS sports books where they just simply are setting their own lines because they don't have enough data to set as accurate of projections as maybe a DraftKings or FanDuel would set for NBA, right? So I'm going to walk you through a couple successful examples of what I mean when attacking these type of opportunities and what they actually look like. And right here on the very screen, you're going to see a middling opportunity that I hit not too long ago. I think this was sometime last year. But these type of examples exist everywhere, right? In front of you, you're going to see a sports book, Underdog, right? Underdog is a fixed payout platform. Whether you hit the over or unders, they don't simply change the payouts. Unlike a traditional sports book, all of their props for a 3-man parlay are set to minus 122. So imagine this CSGO player, Snacks, they set his projection to 14 headshots total for maps 1 and 2, right? They set this to minus 122. As you can see here, he finished at 13, hence the reason why it turned green, because it hit, right? Now, what I'm going to show you is another DFS app called Hot Streak. I don't even know if Hot Streak's still available anymore, but pretend this was a Prizepicks or other major sports book where you're able to bet the over of Snacks over 12.5 headshots. Again, think of this in terms of NBA. Right? I'm thinking of a rebound line. Let's call it Joel Embiid, right? Joel Embiid, his rebound line is set to around 12.5 to 14. Imagine you saw 2 different rebound lines across 2 different DFS sites for Joel Embiid. 12.5 on one, 14 on another. You take the under at 14 and you take the over at 12.5 and he finishes at 13 rebounds. Now, the whole problem with that notion is that, again, NBA markets are very efficient. You would rarely ever see that happen if at all, right? Because again, NBA markets are running tons of simulations. They're spending millions of dollars to set these type of projections. They hear about the NBA news before the consumers do. So they're always ahead of the game. Whereas with esports, there's all kinds of data flowing in and out of esports from many different websites that just simply don't mirror up to a major market like NBA, like NFL. These sports books, their goal is to beat their sports bettors, but they're all originators and they're all setting their own lines based on very little data because esports really haven't been around for even close to the length of time that these major sports have been around, right? So now let's actually take a look at the middling example that we have in front of us. Snacks finished over 12.5. He's finished at 13 on Hot Streak, but again, was set to the exact same kind of projection, the player prop projection on underdog of 14. The projection was different. It was 1.5 headshots off, right? And we took the under. Again, he finished at 13. So we hit that player prop on both of these bets from both different websites, right? With the payout being basically the exact same. And again, this isn't going to happen that often. It's actually going to barely happen at all. But when you identify these discrepancies and these middling opportunities, it's enough to keep you profitable in the long term. You should always be taking advantage of these examples that exist. The amount of times that these type of examples exist and the amount of time that they middle are going to outweigh the risk at which you take these in the long term. Now, this is a successful example, but this person could have easily gone to 15 kills and only hit on one website. But again, the point is still there. The whole point is to take the middle and have it hit enough to keep you profitable. And to further prove to you guys that examples like the one I just showed you on my screen exist today, I'm going to show you a real example when recording this video of an esports middle. As you guys can see here on the screen, we have Lash set to 11.5 headshots, the exact same type of player prop we just looked at, while also being a different player projection on a different site. This here, we're looking at underdog, 11.5 headshots, but on Prizepicks, set to 10. And again, that's the exact same type of discrepancy that existed in our previous example of 1.5 headshots. Now, keep in mind, a headshot in CS2 is a lot harder to get just per round than a point is to be scored in a normal NBA game by an all-star like Luka Doncic. So the 1.5 discrepancy matters a lot more than a single point being scored from a player like Luka, right? So the middle is a lot more likely to happen in something like an esport where the projections are a lot lower and the gaps are a lot wider. And to further prove to you guys that examples like the one I just showed you on my screen exist today, I'm going to show you a real example when recording this video of an esports middle. As you guys can see here on the screen, we have Lash set to 11.5 headshots, the exact same type of player prop we just looked at, while also being a different player projection on a different site. This here, we're looking at underdog, 11.5 headshots, but on Prizepicks, set to 10. And again, that's the exact same type of discrepancy that existed in our previous example of 1.5 headshots. Now, keep in mind, a headshot in CS2 is a lot harder to get just per round than a point is to be scored in a normal NBA game by an all-star like Luka Doncic. So the 1.5 discrepancy matters a lot more than a single point being scored from a player like Luka, right? So the middle is a lot more likely to happen in something like an esport where the projections are a lot lower and the gaps are a lot wider. The last part of this video is I'm going to teach you guys exactly how to take advantage of these opportunities while using the esports discrepancy tool here on Upside. And what I would do is I would simply just build out the top line discrepancies that I see here on the tool. I take Lash over Prizepicks of 10 kills. I take the under on underdog at 11.5. I go down to the next player and identify if there actually is a lineup discrepancy here with the, it looks like there is headshots here with Mode Savage. I take the over on Prizepicks, take the under of 12.5 here on underdog. And then Misfit, I would take an over of 7.5 headshots and the under on underdog of 8.5 as long as this green exists on the side that shows a profitable middle, which means that this player will end up in the middle often enough to keep us profitable in the long term. Again, not every time. Matter of fact, a majority of the time, they actually won't land in the middle. But when they do, imagine a scenario in which all these players finish in the middle for both slips. Instead of the 6x that you're used to getting for one slip hitting, you're now getting 12x. And the whole strategy here is taking advantage of these inefficient markets, which simply don't exist in the popular sports world. And right now, there's a gold mine of opportunities for just esports. And this doesn't just go for CS2. This goes for League of Legends, Dota. There's Halo on some of these sites. Basically, any niche market that has multiple different projections, you can take advantage of utilizing the esports middling tool. So hopefully you guys did learn something from this video. If you did, please do hit that subscribe button, notification bell, and of course, smash that like button.